What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the same. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Weisz.
Dr. Jeremy Weisz here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. And, I'm here with Fredrik van Huynh of Absolute Internship. Before I formally introduce Fredrik, I always like to talk about other interviews that are interesting to people. And since, Fredrik's lived all over the place, Thailand, Sweden, right now he's in Barcelona. And, I've had some international interviews. I had Hermas, the Pipedrive co-founder, who talked about having brain surgery, getting married, moving from Estonia to the US all in the same year. And that time they had about 10,000 paying customers when I interviewed them in 2013. Now they have over 100,000 customers on Pipedrive. It's an amazing journey to see that. I also did a bunch of interviews with top Israeli business leaders. One of them, Yuri Adoni, who wrote the book, The Unstoppable Startup. So check it out and much more. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream 100 relationships and partnerships. And we do that by helping you run your podcast. Essentially, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run their podcast. For me, Fredrik, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way to do that over the past decade to profile the companies and people I most admire and have them on my podcast. So if you've thought of podcasting, you should, hands down. If you have questions, go to rise25.com, email us at support@rise25.com. We both, John and I, have been doing it for over a decade now and absolutely still love it. So today I'm excited to introduce Fredrik van Huynh. He's a Swedish-Cambodian entrepreneur, the co-founder of Absolute Internship, which is a leading global internship program matching university students with internships in person and remote at top companies all around the globe. Since 2009, Absolute Internship has helped thousands of students with more than 800 corporate partners in cities like Barcelona, Beijing, Hong Kong, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Paris, Shanghai, Singapore, and it's remote now. So you could pretty much work anywhere with any company. So while developing marketable skills for future employment, the program really empowers interns to step outside their comfort zone. And Freddie was ranked in 2019 among the top 25 Swedish entrepreneurs disrupting industries and breaking boundaries. And Fredrik, when you look at some of the founders and entrepreneurs coming out of Sweden, some of the people on that list are pretty remarkable. You have Daniel Ek, co-founder of Spotify, Nicholas Zenstrom, co-founder of Skype, Elena Berglund, co-founder of Natural Cycles, and many more. Fredrik, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I'm very humbled to be here, Jeremy. Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, and I want to just give people an idea about Absolute Internship to start. And we'll walk through some of the milestones. Talk to people right now about, how does it work if a student is interested? And then we'll talk about how does it work if a corporation is interested.
It's pretty straightforward, Jeremy. So a student would essentially just go to absoluteinternship.com, click on the Apply Now button, fill out the form, the application form, upload their resume, and then wait for us to hear back from them. We'll set up an interview within 3-4 days with a student over Google Meet or Zoom. And then should the student be accepted, they'll find out a few days later, and they'll get an invite to pay a $500 program deposit. And at that time, they're guaranteed an internship placement with us.
What is criteria for acceptance?
Essentially, we're looking for students that are curious, open-minded, looking to really have a new cultural experience that's going to really help them in their future career. Those are 3 very critical things that we're looking for.
Is there an age range? Like if someone's in high school, can they apply? College?
We actually launched the high school program a few months ago, which I'm very, very proud of. So high school students are more than welcome to apply. Students who just graduated from college are welcome. So not a problem at all.
So you have a meeting. If they fit the criteria, they pay a $500 deposit. Then what happens next? Is there a matching process?
That's right. So they're matched with one of our team members from the student success team, we call it, who then have a one-on-one with the students to really try to identify what the student is looking for. Let's say the student want to do a remote internship in Sweden. All right, what are the hours the student can commit to? What type of expectations do they have? What type of industries the student are interested in? We'll manage their expectations. And based on that, we'll start to reach out to the company networks that we have in Sweden and then try to set up interviews for the student.
And they can choose a path if they want it to be in person or remote at this point.
That's correct. That's correct. So in the beginning, during the application, they choose if they want to do it in person or if they want to do it remotely.
So now from the corporate side, let's say a company's listening to this and like, Fredrik, yeah, we love some interns who could possibly grow in our company and be hired later on. How does it work for a corporation or organization?
So let's say you're a company in London right now. If you're interested to join us and work with us, they will essentially reach out to us via email. And then we'll set up a one-on-one meeting over Zoom or Google Meet to get to know each other. Then we have like an internal protocol on things that we need to ensure and vet. So the company is meeting the expectations and the standards, so to speak, that we have in order to welcome the intern. And then we appreciate the job description and mission statement, so to speak, what type of job the student would be doing. And after that, we're ready and set to go, so to speak. So.
And let's say all works out. Are some of these free? Are they paid? Is there a minimum amount from the student and corporation side?
The service is free of charge for the companies, the corporations. They're willing to pay the students if they want to. So that we leave that up to the companies. Most companies don't. There are some that do. So yeah. And
then how long does it last typically?
It lasts between 1 to 6 months.
Got it. And then after that,
the most common is about 2 months.
After that, they can keep the person on potentially?
They can, absolutely. There's a lot of companies that do that.
So how do you, I see you have a $500 fee for setup. What are the other ways that you are able to monetize Absolute Internship?
So $500 is just the program deposit. Then they pay the remaining fee to students. And that can be from $1,300 up to $5,000, depending on where they're going. The way we're monetizing it is that we're charging the students or the universities. So we do have a lot of university relationships where the universities essentially outsource their international internship programming to us. They say, hey, Freddie, we need a program in Barcelona for 80 students. We need them to do it for 8 weeks. We need accommodation. We need visa support. We need cultural activities. Can you do it? So we give them a program fee that we negotiate, and then we do the work for them, essentially.
So you can customize these programs for them.
Absolutely. We've been doing that for 12 years, Jeremy.
Yeah. So talk about the initial idea to do this, because I know in the very beginning, there were humble beginnings where you worked out of one of your family members' rooms to start this. Yeah. What was the original idea?
The original idea was, the way we came up with it was living in Bangkok back then, just graduated. I was watching Sopranos, and I was like, hey, I remember when I was in Japan and these classmates from the US, they were looking for summer internships and I helped them. Let me look up summer internships. So I was literally Googling summer internships. I'm saying that because people might be laughing, but it's not a big deal, internships in Sweden. They were not. So I was Googling it and I was like, okay. And I found this company in the US and they were selling internship programs in New York City for $12,000 and they had 400 students each summer. And I was like, wow, if they can have 400 students, we could have 400 students in China because people speak English in New York. you need help in China, not in the US, So that was the original idea, Jeremy. I saw the business model and I was like, okay, that can't cost too much to set up. I just need a website. They have an office and, but I don't think people go to visit an office to look for an internship. That was the original idea, Jeremy.
Talk about, there was one instance in Hong Kong with a small fintech company.
Yeah, so just during the pandemic, so we've been running the program in Hong Kong for a decade now, like successfully sending students from all around the world to Hong Kong to do internships in Hong Kong. For people that have never been there, it's basically the New York City of the East. Basically, it's fast-paced, skyscrapers like everywhere. I think Hong Kong has more skyscrapers than New York City, actually. And we had this company, a fintech company, who basically scaled down because of the pandemic, and office cost extremely expensive, like in Manhattan. And thanks to the pandemic and thanks to our remote internship program, they were able to launch a structured remote internship program where they still were able to welcome like international interns working for them, building skills and adding value to the company whilst being remote, being from anywhere in the world. And it helped this company continue to survive and succeed because they were funded. So
very cool. There was another one in Sweden, which was a scooter company.
Exactly. We work with one of the hottest startups. Well, I don't know if I want to call them a startup now, but they're extremely established, not only in Sweden, but all across Europe. It's called Huynh. It's like Lime, I think Lime in the US. So basically just like you use your phone and you can just like book one and you can just drive around in Chicago.
Those things go fast.
They go extremely fast. Yeah. Anyway, so we had students interning with them, and they were so happy with the students. And one of the students were from Hong Kong, and they were like, you know what, just bring one scooter back to Hong Kong. So really, really nice way of like, hey, really appreciate you, but just bring one scooter back to Hong Kong, instead of like paying them. So really cool story.
I'm curious, Fredrik, when you're doing this, how do you decide to charge, right? Was it because that was the standard, charging the student as opposed to charging the corporation? I see how the university works. What made you decide to choose kind of that business model for Absolute Internship?
I wished I had like a theoretical answer, but it was more on the gut feeling. I was like, this is like a company in the US that were at the forefront. They were charging the students. And I was like, it was just a year ago that I was a student. And I was like, if students are willing to pay $50,000, $60,000, $65,000 per year to study, just how much are they like, which, I mean, I do respect that, it's important to have a degree, but there's so many people with a degree. You want work experience, you need work experience, and internships are on the rise, I was like, you know what? Why don't we flip it? Let's ride this wave, and it's been working well. And, I would lie to say that the first year were not easy. They were not easy at all because it was a completely new business model, and we got a lot of negative feedback. But I think in the end, we're able to survive, and we've been like building a very, very successful company.
What was some of the feedback you got early on? You said you got negative feedback.
Yeah, I think a lot of students and parents and companies, they were saying, well, why are you charging the students? You're taking advantage of poor college students. And I was like, I don't think I'm taking advantage of poor college students who are paying $50,000 per year, And, it's really up to the student themselves. This is a program for students that really want to invest in their future, And there's a lot of free ways to do international internship, You might know a cousin, you might know an uncle to help you hook you up with an internship in Sweden or in China, This is just an alternative for those that don't have those connections.
I want to talk about some of the milestones along the journey. One of them that sticks out is in year 4 of your journey.
Okay, yeah.
What happened in year 4?
When we got featured on Forbes?
That, and also
when I took my first salary.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a big deal. That was a big deal, Jeremy. Because I think, you know what? For all the entrepreneurs out there, or people that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, people really overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but they underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years or in 10 years. I'm saying that because I want to get to my story. And man, just to like live on instant coffee, rice and eggs, pasta and tomato sauce for years, it takes a toll on you, you know. Like I love the grind, I love the process, you know. I lived with my mother-in-law for a year, you know, free rent and free food, you know, and like living extremely humble, you know. I remember I had like just two pair of trousers because I was like, I need one fancy one to meet customers and companies, and one relaxed pair of jeans for the weekends. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs are not willing to live humble enough or under their means, so to speak, in order to like reach their dreams. And I think it was a very emotional milestone when that happened.
Fredrik, what kept you going? You know, I could see someone, okay, year 1, I'm enduring this. Year 2, I'm enduring this. Year 3, maybe I should just get a job somewhere. What kept you going?
I think a lot of things, Jeremy, and a lot of things. I'm a very self-motivated guy, you know. I used to play table tennis professionally when I was young. I think I got a lot of motivation from sports, waking up early to go and train when it's winter, when it's snowy. But I think one thing that really helped was the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read that, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs read books, but they fail to like apply. And I was like, this book has worked for billionaires like 100 years ago. It should work for me. I don't want to be a billionaire. I just want to be like having a good living, you know? And I started to write down things. I started to write down my goals. I started to follow the protocol, like follow what was written in the book. And I'm not saying that just sitting here and thinking positive things going to happen to you, magically happen. No, I believe in like, okay, setting goals, reading your goals, and then taking massive action, and have like a really strong belief that it's going to happen. I think that really helped. Number 2, just like every single break, morning, lunchtime, after work, I would like watch motivational YouTube videos. I get a little bit like happy now that you asked me this, because this morning I rewatched a super motivational YouTube video by The Rock. And The Rock, I remember he kept me going back in 2014 and 15, you know, by his motivational Instagram posts and YouTube videos. I was watching that every single day, you know, and taking that to heart and be like, you know what, I'm going to make it. It's just a matter of time, you know. And thirdly, I think the encouraging words from a mother who said that an overnight success from her humble eyes and life experience has been that it takes about 10 years to build a successful business. And I was like, I just been to year 3, year 4, like it's going in the right direction. It's not like we're going down, it's going in the right direction. So it's just a matter of time before we hit the jackpot until we make it, so to speak.
Yeah. You were seeing traction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Talk about, you know, it's a dual-sided marketplace, which is tough, right? Because you have students, you have corporations, universities. What were some of the things that you did early on to get customers?
So getting the companies, let me start with that. It was fairly easy, okay? But getting the paying customers, the students, we were doing 2 things. The first one, I was living on Twitter. Twitter back then was huge. I was commenting, like mentioning people, anyone that mentioned internships, I was just talking to them. And it was not like I was selling them something. I was like, okay, what are you looking for? And I was trying to coach them. So we got a lot of students from that. And secondly, since we didn't have a marketing budget, the first money like that we saved up like from the paying customers, the first few ones, I'm talking about the first 3 to 5, I was like, you know what, we need to move close to the campuses, like where the students are. Let's talk to them face to face, you know. So that's what we did. I basically moved to the UK. Never been to the UK. Like, you know what, there's a lot of students there. It's Europe. US is big, the distances are huge. UK is a little bit more manageable. We can go to campuses just over the day. Basically just moved to the UK, found a place on Airbnb, booked it, and moved there, and just went to campuses each day, tried to speak to students.
So you show up on campus, right? You're hustling. What do?
I went to all the student societies, student union, the international office, study abroad office. And, you know, a lot of universities were very welcoming, a lot were not. A lot of societies were welcoming, a lot were not. So it was all about building goodwill and trying to help the students. I basically became a public speaker as well. Since I've lived in China for 4 years, I came up with this concept that, hey, let me teach people about how to do business in China. And that became very successful. So I went to just talk for free on campuses, and that became a thing. And a lot of students became excited about it and signed up for our program.
That's great. So you'd show up to the student association, you'd say, I have some potential internship opportunities. Let me tell you, they'd have you speak to the group, and they'd hear about the opportunity and get to meet you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then how did you then release that across other campuses? Because you went, you know, all over the place, like I mentioned. You know, there's in London, Madrid, Paris. Did you end up replicating that same process, or did you do it more remote online?
The first thing we did was physical, like face to face. After that, it became remotely. Obviously, I've been to Madrid and Lisbon and all the other cities, but like once we got a lot of traction of the first big groups of students, it became much easier to sign up more students. We didn't have to hustle as hard. We still had to hustle, like to get students and customers, but not as hard, so to speak. We started to get referrals. Students, they have siblings, they have cousins,
The
classmates.
critical mass that you started to reach.
Exactly.
There
and
was
then after that, we started to get universities reaching out to us, which was completely new. We never thought that this could be a B2B business, you know? So
the university started reaching out about what we were talking about. They go, we have 50 students that need to go to this place.
Exactly. We were like, wow, this is amazing. This could be a B2B business. So, yeah.
There was an Indian student in the UK.
Yes, amazing story. So I love meeting people and students, and I have an immigrant background, so I resonate a lot with international students or students that have immigrant parents, so to speak. And we had this student from India. He said, "Okay, I'm an international student. I've been to the career center. They've been telling me I need to be getting an internship with a reputable company, a Fortune 500. I can't be wasting my time with a small company. It's not gonna add value. Can you help me get like a big company in China this summer?" And this was a first-year student, and I was like, listen, please, there are millions of other international students. Just look around, because we're like in a big conference hall with a lot of other students. Look how many other international students there are here. Like, what makes you unique? You know, you don't have any experience. Why would like a big company like recruit you? You have nothing unique that you can offer, you know? I told them, it's normal that your career center is promoting these companies because they are the big sponsors to your university. They're there every year, you know? So this is the only companies that your career center knows. What you need to do is just to go to China and intern for any company. Doesn't matter if it's like a 5-people company or a 25, because in the end of the day, it's about the soft skills and the skills that you're going to gain throughout your summer in China that's going to make you unique. Because once you come back, you're not only the international Indian student with a UK degree, you're now an Indian student with a UK degree and a China internship under your belt. And that's going to make you stand out. That's going to help you stay in Europe and the UK afterwards. 2 years later, he landed a job with Kodak, like huge company in the UK, was able to stay, and he's in the UK since that day, you know. So I think that speaks volumes about that. It's not about the company that you're getting into. It's about the life experience. It's about the country that you're going to, and it's about the cultural experience and immersion that you'll be getting.
Yeah, Fredrik, speaking of cultural immersion, there was a Midwest student.
Yes. So back in 2016, I was in Beijing, China, and we were hosting this big group of students. And one of them were from the Midwest, and they'd never been abroad, from a small town. This was his first time abroad, and he was telling me that this is my first time abroad. I don't know anybody here in China. I feel really nervous. And I was like, don't worry, just be open-minded, speak slowly, don't assume anything, and talk to people, immerse yourself like 100%, eat street food, talk to strangers, try different things, do things that you never done before. So I followed his journey, and 6 weeks later, he was going back home, and we had this farewell dinner together. And he was like, you know what, Freddie, I really want to thank you because you really changed my mind and changed my life. And the experience that you're giving to students, I think is really important, because if you can change one person's life, you know, you can change like thousands. I wished more people from my town back in the US who go to the same church, who vote for the same political party, could have the same experience that I've had, because I'm sure they would see the world differently. And that, you know, when he said that, I was like, man, like, I'm not just inspiring people, you know, like, I'm actually helping. I don't know if it sounds cocky, but I'm going to say it again. But what we're trying to do, what I realize is that we're doing at Absolute Internship is that we're helping making the world a little bit better. Like, people become more tolerant, people become more open-minded, and they're changed, you know, for the better. So
What made him, talking to him, what made him decide to do that, get out of his comfort zone in maybe a smaller Midwest town to broaden his horizon? Because it is, like you said, he was probably scared from the get-go. It's out of your comfort zone. What pushed him to actually do it?
I think, number one, I think because the school funded it. So you just had to pay for the credits. And number two, that he didn't go alone. He knew that there was a group. He was going as a group. There would be other people from the US and other countries. And I think those two things.
And the group was people from all over the US came together?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
You know, sometime I want you to talk about optics for a second. And there was a university that came to visit you. And when a university comes to visit, you want to show them probably a fancy office, that you have this nice place, so that they will feel comfortable sending you students, because you are, you know, quote unquote, legitimate, because you have this nice office. So I want you to talk about when that one university came to visit you.
Yeah, that's a big misconception that I had. So I had this big dream since I started Absolute Internship to build a company where I could work from anywhere. But very quickly, I realized that, hey, we need like a fancy office. I need to wear a suit. I need to wear a suit and tie. And like, this is like serious business. We need to be legitimate. We need to be serious, so people can take us, like, actually can take us seriously, so to speak. So we had offices in Hong Kong, Shanghai, and in London, and they were very expensive office addresses. That year we had at the university coming to visit us, a school that now we've been doing business for a couple of years. So they knew us very well, and we've been visiting their campus as well. So we were on a very friendly note, so to speak. And when she came to our office, like, we're moving offices. So the office was fairly empty, but in a very expensive place. So she was like, you know what, guys? And, Freddie, she said it in a very casual note. Like, I don't think you guys need an office here. Like, you guys could work from an island or from anywhere. Like, you guys know the city, the culture. Like, our students always have a great time, are always like in safe hands with you guys. And when she said that really, really like changed my mind. I was like, hey, like, we don't have to be here. I can be like back home in Sweden, or I can be working from Thailand or from Spain, Barcelona, like from ever I want. And I think it was a big, big milestone for us.
Freddie, talk about building a team, because you have a whole team behind you, and some of the partnership people, co-founder people, other people on the team that's helped you.
What would you like to know, Jeremy?
What were some important positions? Because at first it was you, right? And then how did you grow the team? What were the important positions that you brought on?
I think it was a lot of trial and error, especially since we're so young, Jeremy, because I just graduated. I've just done one corporate job before, interning in a bank. I knew nothing about building a team. All I knew was like watching YouTube videos, podcasts, and reading books, tons of books on how to build a team. It was a lot of trial and error. Basically looking at the business and say, okay, where do we need help? One thing that really helped me as an entrepreneur, I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs listening could resonate with this, was, okay, what are the things that basically someone that could be paid $20 per hour could do that I don't want to do, Another key question that I had was, what am I good at and what am I not good at? And then ensure have people to do the things that I was not good at, so I could do more of things that I was really good at, so to speak. I think those are two things. And then thirdly, ensuring that you have cash flow to pay your people. I think it's extremely important.
Totally. Freddie, I have one last question. Before I ask it, I want to point people towards absoluteinternship.com to learn more. If you're a corporation, if you are a student, if you are a university, you can check it out at absoluteinternship.com, learn more about what they're working on. I know it seems like, Freddie, throughout this journey, learning is a big thing for you. And so I'd love to hear some of your favorite books. You mentioned Think and Grow Rich. What are some other favorite books you recommend and that have been influential for you?
I've read a lot of books that has been very influential. I think a second one that was extremely influential and helped me a lot was a book called Shark Tales by Barbara Corcoran. So Barbara Corcoran is the founder of the Corcoran Group. Like, she built back then it was a $40 million business, but I resonated a lot by Barbara Corcoran. For those that don't know, like, she's on Shark Tank. She has been on Shark Tank as well, like extremely, extremely inspirational woman. And what I love from her book, that there's a lot of like concrete action tips that you can take on today to apply when you're starting your business. And that's what I loved. And I applied everything that she wrote to my business. And I did it right away. And that's how I basically got featured on Forbes and BBC and New York Times and etc. Another book that has been extremely influential, let me see, is the book by Mark Cuban. Can't remember the title, but I think it's $2. He only did the Kindle version. I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. I used to, and I am still, well, back then I printed out quotes by Mark Cuban. I put them on the wall, basically A4 papers. And I love that. Basically, when people came to our office at Absolute, the first thing they saw was every day there's someone waking up who wants to kick your ass. So by Mark Cuban, I love that. A fourth book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Always been an extrovert, but that book, like, because I grew up, like, my parents, they worked in a factory, like, we didn't have many connections, like, no one had gone to the university. So I didn't know anyone when I grew up. So one of the most important things I wanted to accomplish was to get to know people and build my network. And this was one of the best books. And it's a very, very old book. And that's what I appreciate with it. So I think those are 4 solid books, Jeremy. I mean, I could go for the entire day, but those are 4 very, very solid books.
Freddie, you had an offer of someone to purchase you at one point, right?
The company.
Yeah, the company.
Or yes, it has happened a few times. Yeah, Jeremy.
So what made you decide to not go down that path?
I think, first of all, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really, really like waking up and I'm excited to work, like I don't see it as work. It's my hobby, to Absolute Internship. Number 2, I don't think I wouldn't know. I think I wouldn't know what to do with the money, selling the company. And I think it's extremely dangerous. Let's say somebody say, hey, Jeremy, here's 15 million, here's 10 million. Like, what would you do? I think a lot of entrepreneurs wouldn't know what to do with it. I think a lot of immature people would say, well, you just start another company. It's not like that. That's like getting into a new marriage, and you have to go right now. Like, I think that's a very, very important thing. And then lastly, I don't know what I would do with the free time.
Yep.
I think it's I know time is the only commodity we can't buy. But I'm just having a great time and I'm very happy, and I think happiness is very underrated. So.
Love it. Freddie, I want to be the first one to thank you. Everyone, check out absoluteinternship.com. And thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Freddie.
Thank you very much, Jeremy.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.